I'm going to be talking about race. And I never used to have to do that when I came on stage, but over the last couple of years, people get very sensitive if you bring up the issue of race or racism or racial rhetoric. You have people like Lawrence Fox who say stuff like, you know what, maybe if we stop talking about it, it would go away. When has that ever worked for any social ill or personal ailment you've ever have? If you went to a doctor and was like, there's a rash on my genitals, and he said, ignore that shit, you would say, I'd like another doctor, please. I also notice people always say, oh, here we go, you liberals, always whining. First of all, I'm not liberal, I will kick your mum in the face if you're racist. Second of all, how can you be called a snowflake if you're liberal or care about other people? Like, when you think about the nature of a snowflake, you can't describe me in that way. Like, what's a snowflake? Individual, white and cold as fuck, and tend to disappear in warm climates when black people are having a good time. Couldn't be further from the truth. But mainly when I try to talk about issues that affect this society where race is concerned, people say, oh, you seem very angry. You must have a chip on your shoulder. And I thought a lot about this chip on my shoulder. And in this world of body positivity, when we're embracing all of our curves and our flaws, I embrace having a chip on my shoulder as a black man in a racist society. Keeps me alert, keeps me alive, keeps me working for a better world. And I'm gonna share this lovely chocolate chip of mine with you guys. So I hope you're ready for some lovely social commentary cookies. Now, I'm calling them social commentary cookies, yes. I could call them home truths, but that tends to put people off when you tell them the truth. You know why? Because normally you go on a website and at the beginning it doesn't say, hey, we're gonna put a piece of code into your computer so we can monitor all of your browsing activity and sell your data to other houses and maybe, you know, keep that for ourselves. Because we'd go, oh, I don't consent to this, that's kind of invasive. No, thank you. So instead you go on websites and they go, hey, you like cookies? And we go, yeah, we love cookies! Give me some cookies now! So I wanted to brace you for that. Because I get called an angry person all the time. I don't think I'm angry all the time. Just certain situations will bring out anger in anybody. Now, I know it's a comedy show and I don't want to start on a solemn tone, but I gotta tell you what happened. I was attacked last week. And you don't expect to be attacked in the place you've grown up your whole life. There I was, around the corner from my own mother's house. And she lives in a leafy suburb. I did not expect this to happen, but something or someone hits the back of my head, and before I could think, I've got a warm, wet liquid trickling down the back of my neck. And I thought, please don't be what I think it is. But there we were, a pigeon shit on me. Has this ever happened to anybody else? Yeah, it's not a nice thing to happen. But was it made worse when somebody went, don't worry, that's good luck? I'm sorry, when did feces and fortune become bedfellows? There's nothing lucky about shit. In fact, shit is the opposite of luck. When you're not lucky, you go, oh shit. Now, we can test this theory. Anyone here ever bought a lottery ticket or a scratch card? Yeah, hoping to be lucky? Yeah, but you didn't wipe your bum with it before the numbers came out. Because there's nothing lucky about shit. Nothing lucky about being shat on. Now, I want to make sure we've made the distinction between the words shit and shat, because those carry two very different meanings. Because if someone says to you, hey, I shit in your house, you'd be like, okay, bit too much information. You can just say I go into the toilet. Anyway, that's fine. I hope you've washed your hands. But if someone says, hey, I shat in your house, there's a feeling that's still there. Now you gotta buy a new rug and get some new friends. So anyway, this pigeon shit on me, I was pissed off. And I decided to declare war on this pigeon and all of its kind. But then I thought, what a hypocrite. You can't blame an entire group or community for the actions of an individual. I'm not Liam Neeson or a Metropolitan Police officer. So, can't do that. So I thought the best thing to do would be to empathize and think about myself as a pigeon. And when I thought about it, you know what? Pigeons have a rough time in our society. Some of you might remember that pigeons used to exchange messages during the war. You know, when people ate licorice still. And they would exchange messages between the Allies, helping us to defeat the Nazis. I say defeat, making a move to America, but the point is that pigeons helped out. Now, pigeons live like war veterans. They got limbs missing, no access to healthcare, they're homeless, congregating under bridges. It's tough when you're a pigeon. Not only that, when you're a pigeon, you're considered a second-class citizen to your white counterpart, the dove. Did you even know that doves are just white pigeons? And they get all the good songs, all for the wings of a dove. When doves cry, there's no good pigeon songs. Black people are like, there's one pigeon song, it's not positive. And speaking from personal experience, when you've contributed to the infrastructure of a society and that society turns around and neglects your efforts, sometimes you gotta do wild shit so people pay attention. Maybe that's why that pigeon shouted me. And then when he went back to the Black Birds Matter rallies, they had a conversation about it. Because I assume all the black birds kind of get together. One of the more radical birds takes the stage. We'll call him Falcon X. And no one else is doing bird Pan-Africanist puns. Shut up. So anyway, Falcon X comes on stage and he's like, this is some bullshit. I'ma keep shitting on them until they stop eating our eggs. Then one of the more moderate pigeons, we'll call him Martin Luther King, he's like, not all human beings are bad. Sometimes when you go to the park, they will give you breadcrumbs. And he's like, they also take breadcrumbs and they roll our legs in that and they fucking eat it. What are you talking about, mine? Like, even the fact that we call pigeons flying rats, which is a derogatory term only to the black urban pigeons, mind you. Because when it comes to rats, there's also iniquity there. When you're a white rat, I'm not saying your life is perfect, but it could be worse. You get to work in a lab, free cosmetics, healthcare, exercise in a maze. When you're a black rat, what do you get? Blamed for the plague. Or if you're a brown rat, you gotta do youth work in a sewer teaching turtles kung fu and shit. That's no kind of life. Doesn't just happen on land either. This shit is taking place in the sea too. Some of you will be familiar with the species Orcus orca, known in documentaries as the blackfish, but more commonly known as a killer whale. All these fish in the sea, and the predominantly black one is called a killer. Is that fair? Why can't they be called sea pandas? I'm just saying that killer whales look more like pandas than sea lions look like lions. Like, think about how we revere and look at lions. King of the savannah plains. Even lion kings. There's no sea lion king, because they don't look like a fucking lion. Can you imagine the first time a kid was told they was gonna meet an underwater lion? How disappointing that would have been. Marine biologist comes home, he's like, hey there, son. I know I haven't been around as much as I should have been, but daddy's got a surprise for you. We finally discovered a new species, a sea lion, son. Dad, are you fucking serious? You guys have discovered a motherfucking sea lion? I don't really care for your language, son, but yeah, that's my fault for not being there, I guess. But yeah, son, that's what happens. So now they get down to the lab and he's like, behold, son, in all of nature's majesty, a sea lion. Kid's like, what the fuck is this? It's a sea lion, son. It's an otter with a fucking wax. You should have called it a sea badger. Don't you get tired of disappointing me, motherfucker? Meanwhile, the biggest killer in the sea gets to enjoy the name Great White Shark. And all we do is talk about its greatness and its whiteness. Should be called a colonial fish, if you ask me. Out here just taking over. So when David Attenborough's on Blue Planet, he's like, since ancient times, the great white shark has been one of history's greatest hunters and most efficient killers. But we want to know, what's its secret? Oh, I know. Privilege! Now you can tell me, guys, did that seem kind of angry? Yeah, a little bit? Well, that's fine. Some of you say yes, some of you say no. Well, I'll put that down to the fact that rarely do black people in our community get to explore the entirety of our emotional spectrum. It's not just from 0 to anger all the time. There's a sliding scale. Also, just because we raise our voices doesn't mean we're angry. If you learn nothing else today, moving forward, think of blacks shouting the same way you think about white women's tears. In that sometimes when we do it, we're in a good mood. And also, sometimes it's the only recourse of action you have for people to pay attention to your needs. And finally, black people and white women telling us to calm down does not help. Yeah. So now you have that understanding, let me give you an idea of the sliding scale. We all get angry sometimes. And I don't go from 0 to 10, it's a scale. So like 1 for me would be like, you know when you go into a room in the dark, or you're not looking, and you stub your toe on some furniture, but it's so painful, you're like, someone is trying to kill me in my own home. Because once I went into my nephew's bedroom, he had a Buzz Lightyear on the floor, I stepped on it, and I was so angry, I was like, I wish this was Toy Story and you could come to life, because I'd fucking kill you, Buzz. Right. To show you halfway up the scale, I have a condition called misphonia. It means certain sounds make me very sensitive, like snoring or loud chewing. And I'm telling you this because I had to move out of my housemate's flat. I was living with a housemate, I had to find my own flat because this guy would make so much noise when he was eating because he refused to go to the dentist. I would fantasize about slitting his throat so he could bleed out all over the table. Now, be honest with me, guys. Does that seem kind of dramatic? Some say yeah, some say no. To those of you that say yeah, let me ask you a question. Who the fuck chews soup? My housemate, that's fucking who. Yeah. Now, I wanted to give you an idea of what makes me angry, and I'm imagining some of you are like, well, based on what he's saying, then racism must be level 10 for Dane. But you'd be incorrect. Most people of color can tell you we are so used to discrimination, it's become part of the atmosphere. It's something you have to consider in every activity you do. Anything you do, you gotta think about how it's gonna affect you as a person of color in Western civilization. So I would say no, racism is not a 10 for me, it's more like an 8 or a 9. 10 for me would be people still denying that racism exists. And those people are still out there. And some of them are black and brown people too, trying to find work and avoid getting shape-ups at barbershops. The point is, thank you black people that got that. But the point is that, can we still deny the existence of racism in a post-camera phone society, in a world where there are 2 men called Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder, who between both those guys have written at least 3 songs about racism. So if a blind man can see it, it must really exist. Some of you are like, but my brown friend says, your brown friend can't play the piano with his fucking eyes closed. So I know that the conversation about privilege is a hard one to have because you live in a capitalist society where you're told you got to work for everything, be a part of this rat race, and for you to win, someone lazier than you has to lose. You've all got the same 24 hours. Right, to get out there and do some work. So if it's going to ease this conversation somewhat, I am now on stage prepared to discuss some aspects of black privilege. Would you like that? Well, it don't fucking exist. How dare you? Let's try, lady. I laid the trap. You sprung it. Did you see that shit? Sorry, mysterious racists in the shadows. I'll set you up there.